Hey everybody, welcome back to the video. This will be kind of a part two of the one I just did about the idea of dying during this energy shift that we have going on. So I was talking with somebody today that has watched the video, and I went into some more details with her that I hadn't gone into in the last video. So I wanted to cover a few of those things today that might help to explain just a little bit more about what was going on and how impactful how this last experience was in what it means. One of the things that I didn't talk about was the idea that I've noticed that the sun has changed this week, at least from how I see the sun. The intensity of the level of the sun, the light, the intensity of the light, the level of the light, the clarity of the light, the clarity of the reality around me has shifted to where It I can't even look towards the sun anymore because of the intensity of the light. And as I said, the reality, everything seems to be much sharper, much clearer, much brighter than what it has been. Again, indicating more of that shifting of realities. What I feel is moving us to a purer, a better, cleaner, more beautiful reality that we should be shifting to. One of the things that I had mentioned in the last video has to do with the Sophia stage. And I know some people aren't going to be looking things up, so I just wanted to kind of go over that a little bit here as to what it means. And again, when I'm going through this, a lot of it applies to what I experienced, but there are also going to be some differences. Um, and for those of you who have watched some of the past videos, you'll understand that it has to do with the concept of the 5DA universe, which a lot of these people that are speaking about the other things don't understand that concept quite yet. And those of you who have read my books do understand that concept. So that really does figure into what's going on. So anyway, the Sophia stage. I'm just going to read this. This is what is written. The Sophia stage is the fourth and final phase of anima development in the Jungian psychology, representing the ultimate integration of the unconscious feminine within a person, embodying supreme wisdom and spiritual maturity. One thing that I have learned on my journey here this time that the energy that I have this time is more of a divine feminine energy versus the divine masculine. In the other lives and realities I've been in, I've always had the divine masculine energy. And in this reality, I have taken on the concept of the divine feminine energy. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm effeminate. It doesn't mean that I like men. It doesn't mean anything to do with the role that I am playing here. I'm still here as a male. I'm still doing the things that I do as a male. But what I'm doing is within me, the aspect of me, I have to balance out that divine feminine. And the only way for me to be able to balance out the divine feminine and the divine masculine energy was for me to become here and embodying more of the the divine feminine energy. Don't get hung up on the word so much either when we talk about that. But it's allows me to have the multitude of experiences that I have, which the divine feminine often has more than the divine masculine. So it's allowed me to have the experiences that I've had over time at the intensity level that I've had over time. And this last experience here, where this last week when I got the blast of the energy and the dying and so on, directly applies to this Sophia stage. So that's what I wanted to cover this for. Like I said, I'll just kind of reread that. Representing the ultimate integration of the unconscious feminine within a person, embodying supreme wisdom and spiritual maturity. It's characterized by moving beyond romantic projections, using intuition and logic in harmony, and acting as a bridge to the unconscious. Now, if you remember what I talked about, the idea that that blast of energy basically separated the emotional aspects of me from the body because I'd been having all those emotional sessions and the crying and so on for the last couple of weeks. And that is exactly what it's talking about here, moving beyond the romantic projection, which is the mind and the ego, which is what was blasted from my body. at that time. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but that's really what it was. It was the mind ego concept. It was almost what would be considered a dark night of the soul event. And I've already had one of those um, towards the end of last year, and this is simply another one that's taking it to another stage. Okay, key aspects of the Sophia stage include represents a wisdom and the spiritualization of the previous anima stages, Eve, Helen, and Mary. I'm not sure what all those are. I haven't looked them up. And the function, instead of inducing passion and or distraction, this archetype guides the individual towards wholeness and mediates between the conscious ego and the unconscious. Now, if you've read my books, you understand that I call the consciousness is the connection between the spirit and the physical ego, the ego mind type, and that's kind of what it's talking about. The characteristics, it involves embracing emotional depth, creativity, and symbolic thinking without losing rational control. And I mentioned that I'm feeling the empathy and the compassion, but I'm no longer have the emotional distraction that would be involved in that process. The significance, it signifies psychological maturity where the inner feminine is fully integrated, allowing for a balanced, conscious life. The stage often manifests as a deep inner authority, moving the individual towards profound self-reflection, ethical judgment, and the ability to find meaning rather than just reacting to life's circumstances. In other words, it's the idea of moving beyond being controlled by your emotions. Even though you still have them, you still feel them. It doesn't mean I'm emotionless. I haven't become a robot running around by any means. I still feel everything. I still feel the emotions. I still have it all there. It's simply no longer the dominating force within me because that the emotions are what we came here to learn, but it's also part of the ego mind, which is where they were developed within that. Uh, oh, the one other thing too is I've mentioned before that the doctor called me on Tuesday morning because remember this happened on Sunday. And Tuesday morning the doctor called me and said that my report from my device, which gets sent in every day to a company, they send it to the doctor's office, showed that I'd had 4 episodes. In other words, 4 of the fibrillations of the heart, and they all happened within that 2 weeks before I had the final shock from the defibrillator. So again, this is all signifying to me that it has to do with a spiritual progression rather than just a physical progression. One of the other things that I thought was important that I realized when I was writing up this paper is that this is the first time in 11 years that my defibrillator has gone off. I just actually had it replaced sometime middle of last year, I believe it was. After 10 years, the batteries start to go dead. But anyway, it's been 11 years. And when I looked at it, I realized that it was 11 years to the day when I got the first defibrillator pacemaker. And that was on February 15th, 2015. It was the day I got the device in. And 11 years later, it was the day that it actually activated. And the reason that is important is because spiritually, and I'll gonna kind of read through this as well, since I don't want to mess up what I'm saying here. And that is the number 11 is considered a master number in numerology, symbolizing heightened intuition, spiritual insight, and enlightenment, and serving as a bridge between the mortal and the divine realms. The same as the Sophia stage, where you're connecting the spiritual, physical realm, even though the physical is illusionary. It's still the idea that it's all spiritual, but it's connecting those two vibrations together because that's what they are. Two vibrations, two torsion fields, and it connects them together. It's often interpreted as a sign of awakening, urging individuals to trust their inner wisdom, pursue their soul's mission, and recognize synchronicities. You know, the synchronicities we've been having are pretty extreme. Anyway, um, isn't number 11 is not reduced to a single digit because it's considered a master number by itself. and it possesses its own high vibrational energy. Let's see, it represents strong intuition, visionary thinking, and deep empathy. The seeing 1111 or 11 is often seen as a wake-up call from the universe or angels, suggesting that your thoughts are aligning with your desires and that you are on the right path. Spiritual bridge, it symbolizes the connection between the subconscious and the conscious, between the physical and the spiritual worlds. It's also representing new beginnings and alignment. The double one structure signifies a doubling of the power of number one, which is new beginnings, leadership, purity, representing a fresh start and spiritual illumination. The divine light, in some traditions, 11 signifies the ability to transcend the limits of the physical world, which is represented by number 10. In other words, 11 is often seen as a message to trust your intuition and pay attention to the subtle spiritual messages. So the fact that the videos came up talking about the Sophia stage and the fact that the pacemaker, my defibrillator, went off and shocked me 11 years to the day from the time I first received it. Again, number is significant. And I actually happen to live on the 11th green of a golf course as well. Again, significant. And most of the synchronistic connections that I've had with somebody that I talked to quite a bit occurred usually on the 11th hole or on the 8th hole. And the 8th represents the 8th chakra, which is just above the head, outside of the physical realm as well. So anyway, those are the things that I wanted to kind of cover over quickly, a little more in depth. And the idea that I am still feeling changes going on within my body, uh, and how I'm feeling. Yesterday morning when I woke up, I had the feeling that I have moved past the instance with the heart. I'm not saying it's not going to happen again, but I've had the feeling that I have moved past that. I haven't had any, what I've noticed anyway, any fibrillation incidents within the last 2 days. This morning I even went out for a walk, which is only the second time I've done that in over a month because of how I'd been feeling. And I actually felt decent on the walk. Again, tired because I've been sick and with everything that's happened, my body doesn't have the strength that it needs yet to do my full walks, but I was able to get out, do some walking around today, and I felt fine doing it. So again, it's a work in progress. And if something changes that is worthwhile, I think significant enough, then I will do another video and update you on that. I want to thank all of you who have watched the videos, the people I've talked to about it, and I appreciate your supporting me on this journey and your help because you are a part of it. We are all part of the same journey and we help each other as we need to. Thank you and enjoy your day.